Scene script. Ever wondered why some people seem to have an endless supply of motivation while others struggle to get out of bed? Think of motivation like the engine of a car. It's what drives us to take action, to move forward and to overcome hurdles. It's the fuel that keeps us going when things get tough. But motivation isn't something that some are born with, more of than others. It's not a genetic trait or a personality quirk. It's a skill, a habit, a mindset that can be developed and honed. Take Thomas Edison, for instance, the man who gave us the electric light bulb, the phonograph, and countless other inventions. But did you know that he faced countless failures and rejections before he made his mark? For every successful invention, there were hundreds of unsuccessful ones, but what kept him going, despite the setbacks? It was his motivation, his drive to succeed, his relentless pursuit of innovation. Edison once said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's the power of motivation. It's the ability to look at failure not as a dead end, but as a stepping stone towards success. Motivation isn't about being high energy all the time or never feeling down. It's about having a goal, a vision, and relentlessly pursuing it, no matter the obstacles. It's about bouncing back after a setback and learning from it instead of being crushed by it. It's about finding a reason, a why, that keeps you going when things get tough. You see, motivation isn't a well that some people have and others don't. It's a muscle that everyone has, but not everyone knows how to exercise. Just like a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. And just like a muscle, if you don't use it, it atrophies. So how do you exercise your motivation muscle? How do you cultivate that relentless drive that propels you forward? That's what we'll explore in the next scenes. As you can see, motivation is not a magical quality, it's a skill that can be developed. You might be wondering, what exactly is motivation and how does it work in our brains? Well, let's dive into the fascinating world of neuroscience to find the answer. Imagine your brain as a bustling city with thoughts and emotions zipping around like cars on a highway. Now consider motivation as the fuel that keeps these cars going. Without it, the city comes to a standstill. Now, the fuel in this scenario is a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is the feel-good chemical in our brains. It's released when we do something enjoyable, like eating a delicious meal or achieving a goal. This rush of dopamine makes us feel good, and our brain remembers this feeling. So the next time we're faced with a task, our brain nudges us, saying, "Hey, remember how good it felt last time we did this? Let's do it again." This is the core of the reward system in our brain, and it's what drives our motivation, but it's not as simple as just chasing a dopamine rush. You see, our brains are smart. They don't just reward us for completing tasks, but also for making progress towards them. This is known as the progress principle. It's why we feel a sense of satisfaction when we cross off tasks on our to-do list, or why we feel a surge of excitement when we see the finish line in sight during a long run. Our brain is rewarding us for making progress, thereby boosting our motivation to keep going. But what about those days when we just can't seem to muster up the motivation? This can often be attributed to a lack of dopamine. Various factors like stress, lack of sleep, or poor nutrition can impact our dopamine levels, making it harder for us to find the motivation to get things done. So there you have it. Motivation isn't just a vague, intangible concept. It's deeply rooted in the science of our brain, influenced by neurotransmitters and reinforced by reward systems. Understanding the science behind motivation can help us harness its power in our own lives. So the next time you're struggling to find motivation, remember it's all about the dopamine, the progress principle, and taking care of your brain health. Now that we know what motivation is and how it works, how can we cultivate it in our own lives? Let's delve into the strategies that can help us build motivation. The first strategy is setting clear goals. Think of a sailor navigating the open seas. Without a destination in mind, the sailor is merely adrift. However, with a clear destination, every wave, every gust of wind becomes a tool to reach that destination. Similarly, having a clear goal gives our actions meaning and direction. For instance, if your goal is to write a novel, your motivation increases each time you complete a chapter because you're one step closer to achieving your goal. Our second strategy is breaking tasks into smaller parts. Imagine trying to eat a whole watermelon in one bite. Impossible, right? But if you slice it into smaller pieces, it suddenly becomes manageable. The same principle applies to our tasks. If your goal is to read a 200-page book, don't look at it as a monumental task. Instead, break it down into reading 10 pages a day. Before you know it, you'll have read the entire book, one slice at a time. Our final strategy is celebrating small victories. When we achieve a small goal, our brains release dopamine, the feel-good hormone. This not only makes us feel happy, but also motivates us to continue working towards our goals. So if you've managed to stick to your exercise routine for a week, pat yourself on the back. If you've finished reading a book, treat yourself to a nice cup of coffee. These small rewards can go a long way in keeping you motivated. Now let's consider a real-life example. Think of Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb on his first try. He set clear goals, broke down his tasks into manageable experiments, and celebrated each small victory, each tiny spark of light, until he finally achieved his goal. With these strategies in mind, you are well equipped to build your motivation. And remember, the key to building motivation is consistency. Keep setting those goals, keep slicing those tasks, and keep celebrating those victories. Before you know it, you'll be sailing smoothly towards your destination. Building motivation is one thing, but how do we maintain it over the long term? This is the question that often lingers in our minds as we embark on our journeys towards self-improvement and success. The first strategy for maintaining motivation is to stay focused on your goals. Imagine you're a sailor navigating the open sea. Your goal is the distant shoreline, and your motivation is the wind in your sails. If you lose sight of the shore, the wind dies down and your journey stalls. Keeping your eyes on the prize, your destination, keeps the wind in your sails and your journey on course. Consider the story of a renowned pianist. He didn't become a master overnight. His journey was filled with countless hours of practice, countless notes, and countless compositions, but he had a clear goal in mind: to create beautiful music, and that goal kept him motivated through the grueling hours of practice and the occasional missed notes. The second strategy is to stay positive. It's easy to get discouraged when faced with challenges or setbacks, but remember, every cloud has a silver lining. Every mistake is a lesson learned. Every setback is an opportunity for a comeback. Think about Thomas Edison. He failed 1,000 times before he successfully invented the light bulb. But he stayed positive. He saw each failed attempt not as a failure, but as another step closer to success. And that positive outlook kept his motivation alive. The final strategy is to avoid burnout. It's important to work hard towards your goals, but it's equally important to take breaks, to recharge, and to maintain a healthy balance in your life. Reflect on the tale of the tortoise and the hare. The hare, despite his speed, lost the race because he burned himself out. Meanwhile, the tortoise, slow and steady, maintained his pace and ultimately won the race. The lesson: consistency and balance are key to maintaining motivation. Remember, maintaining motivation is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires persistence, positivity, balance, and a clear vision of your goals. So keep your eyes on the prize, maintain a positive outlook, avoid burnout, and you'll keep your motivation burning bright. Even with the best strategies, we can still encounter obstacles to our motivation. How do we overcome them? Well, let's take a look at a few common roadblocks and how to tackle them head-on. Fear of failure, for instance, is a big one. It's the little voice in your head that whispers, "What if I can't do this?" To silence this voice, remind yourself that failure is not the end, but a stepping stone to success. It's through our failures that we learn, grow, and ultimately succeed. Think of Thomas Edison, who made 1,000 unsuccessful attempts at inventing the light bulb. When asked about it, he said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps." Next, let's talk about a lack of self-belief. This is when you think you're not good enough or capable enough to achieve your goals. We've all been there, right? To overcome this, start small. Achieve little victories and let them fuel your confidence. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Take the case of J.K. Rowling, who was a single mother on welfare when she started writing Harry Potter. She faced numerous rejections but believed in her story and kept going. Look where that belief brought her. And then there's procrastination, the art of putting things off until the last minute. It's a tricky one, but not unbeatable. Break your tasks into manageable chunks and tackle them one at a time. Make a schedule, stick to it, and reward yourself upon completion of each task. Take a leaf out of Elon Musk's book. He works in 5-minute slots, ensuring that every minute of his day is utilized effectively. By understanding and overcoming these obstacles, you can keep your motivation high and achieve your goals. So, the next time you find yourself staring at an obstacle, remember, It's just another opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Keep pushing, keep striving, and most importantly, keep believing the world is waiting